Hi everyone, this is Aaron. I am Dive In Dig Deep on Instagram, and we're going live today with pastor and author Nick Minerva. He wrote this book, Thriving in Exile, and we're going to talk about it today. Hi Kevin, thanks for joining. I'm just waiting for Pastor Nick to join, and then we'll get started. I think that this book is fitting for our situation, being in still quarantine, and this is how the Christian identity helps us suffer well. I'll read the back to you really quick. It says, one of the things the Apostle Peter reminds us in 1 Peter is that we are strangers and exiles. This world is not our home. We are now priests in God's kingdom. Part of our role as priests is to point others to Jesus through the way we will live our lives, especially in suffering. When we anchor our hope to Jesus, we can show people in our lives a better way to live, one that rises above fear with the unshakable confidence that comes from being secure in Christ. Living for eternity today gives others hope for tomorrow. Thriving in Exile will walk us through the book of 1 Peter and show how we can live holy lives that point people to Jesus while we navigate our own suffering. So this is the book, and I see Pastor Nick in the chat. I'm going to get you in here. We'll be going live together. Hi, Jess. Thanks for joining.
Hey, Aaron, how's it going, man?
Pastor Nick, how are you? Whoa, your beard got way more massive since the last time I saw you.
COVID, man.
I love it. It's a great look on you. It's a great
Thanks.
look.
I figured the more of my face I can cover up, the better. So.
Yeah. Well, it's a good look for you, whether your
Thanks.
face is covered up or not. I think it keeps you warm, and it's good for the winter season, I'm sure.
Yeah, exactly. That's what we'll go with.
Thanks so much for going live with me.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. How was your Christmas? How was your New Year's?
It was good. Yeah, other than there wasn't a lot of the usual activities, it was good. So just kids had a great time. Trying to make a lot of memories with them as much as we could, and yeah, it was good. So, New Year's at our house is always uneventful. We're not the stay up late and ring in the New Year type. Like, I'm in bed by 10 o'clock. So
yeah, same.
Some of our neighbors down the street, though, they were ringing it in with fireworks. So they were kind enough to share all that.
You're in Fresno, right? You're in Fresno?
Yeah. Yep, so right in the middle of California.
I'm assuming fireworks are legal in Fresno? No,
100% no. Not the ones that were going off.
We won't tell on your neighbors, I guess. But
I don't know exactly which one it was, so I can't really. But all I know is they were loud.
Well, I'm glad that you're safe, and I'm honestly glad that we're here in the new year. I know that there's a lot of stuff that's been going on, and honestly, I'm just grateful to be able to continue this friendship with you in the new year.
Man.
There's just a lot that's been going on since I think the first time that you and me even connected over here.
We did. That was when was that? Was that like back in March?
It had to be at the very start of the pandemic because my son was born and I stayed home, but then I extended my parental leave because of COVID and just the unknown of it. But you were able to write a book and release it during that time. What was it around that time?
So I started doing the study during the summer. Okay. I was doing a Bible study with some folks at our church, and so that's when I wrote the majority of it. And so it was a little bit after we last connected. But the book of 1 Peter is just such a timely little book of the Bible for everything that I feel like we're going through this past year and still working through. So it was definitely an enjoyable study to do with the people that I did it with. Yeah.
Yeah. So before you joined me here, I read the back of your book, and
Right. Yeah, I came in right as you were reading it.
I want to know, can you give me in your own words what thriving in exile means? Kind of just the gist of your book, maybe
Yeah.
right now.
So the gist of it is, exile comes from what Peter calls us as Christians at the beginning of his book. And the heartbeat behind that is we are not in our final home. We don't really belong in this world. But just because we don't belong here doesn't mean we just kind of have to hold on till the end. Like, we can survive and we can thrive and we can thrive and we can do well. Sorry, my dog is like interrupting me. Go away, dog. We can thrive even in a place where we don't belong, even in difficult situations and in the middle of suffering. We don't just kind of have to hunker down till we get to our eternal home. Thrive now.
Yeah. I know that you went through this with your church. How was it? Was the church receptive? Like, were they kind of like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
How was it?
No. So it wasn't with our whole church. It was with a group of people that I did the study with, and they were really receptive to it. During the summer, we were kind of like right in the middle of everything, and that's when I think for a lot of us, we were starting to realize this isn't going to be over in like 2 months. Like in March, we were kind of like, we'll just hang on for a month or two, and everything will be back to normal. By the time summer hit, we were all kind of like, this is for real. Whatever this is more than just a month. And so I think just the timeliness of everything that he hits in the book, our church was really receptive towards that, because they were all, and I was at a point where I was like, okay, this is bigger than we thought. How do we move forward? And just the way that Peter writes that book and helps us know how to move forward, I think was really, really helpful.
So you wrote this as a Bible study, but you turned it into a book. How, did you know you were going to turn it into a book? I want to know about your writing process.
Yeah, no. So I didn't know I was going to turn it into a book at all. The process, so every week, you got a deadline every week, right? Because you're doing the study with people. So the way I would work through it was I would become really familiar with whatever the passage that I was reading. I would read it over and over and over again. And then from there, I would just read a lot of different commentaries, a lot of different books, listen to a lot of different sermons on the passage. Then from there, I would kind of take all of that, and then I would just, do my outline and then just write it out. Typically, when I preach, I will write out a complete manuscript of just about everything that I'm going to say. And then, the group that I did it with was really receptive towards it. I got done and I'm like, I have this whole study on this book of the Bible. I'm like, I've got the whole thing. Like, I never had written for a whole book of the Bible. And I'm like, I don't want to be done with it, And so I sent it to you. I sent it to a few other people. I was like, hey, give me your feedback on this. I kind of want to do something with it, but I don't know what to do with it. And then so from, encouragement from you and several other people, they're like, hey, I think you should just put it out there and see what happens. Yeah, that was what I did. Wasn't my intention or my goal going into it at all, but, I think the Lord used his word, and the Lord used the study to really be a help and encouragement. So we went for it.
The way I see it is that it's very logical, it's very coherent, just like I guess a Bible study should be. And I think the way that you crafted your sermons, or the way you crafted your study, I guess, you can see how it flows and it makes sense. So to me, it seemed like the perfect fit to put into a book.
Yeah, I appreciate the word.
Hold on one second. I think I think I'm getting like some audio interference from the headphones.
Let me just try to hang on. Can you still hear me?
Yeah, that's like a million times better.
Okay.
Let's roll with this. Is that okay?
Our wonders. Yeah. So that was kind of the process of how we put it together, and I'm thankful for the people that it's helped. It's been neat to see how the message of First Peter and the message that, hey, we can thrive when we're in suffering has really just been an encouragement to people.
Yeah. I noticed that in your book, You make a lot of references to Spurgeon. You like to quote Spurgeon. You seem to be the avid Spurgeon lover.
I do.
And you also make movie references. I think almost every chapter you're making some sort of movie reference, which I enjoyed.
Yeah.
Can you tell me about that? Why the love for Spurgeon? Why the movie references? Is this something that comes out in your sermons a lot? Give me some background.
So with Spurgeon, I mean, I feel like I've kind of grown up with him. All the churches or pastors that I've ever had the privilege of sitting under, he's the guy everybody quotes, right? And so when I was in college, I was kind of like, okay, everybody likes Spurgeon, whatever. And then these last several years, I've started really doing more reading of his and just realizing, oh, this is why he's so popular. He's really good. He's got a lot of really good things to say. And then with the movie references, you know, a lot of the material that we're working through First Peter tends to be more serious in nature. And so partly I was trying to bring a little bit of levity into it. Like, okay, this is going to be heavy, but we don't have to be like Debbie Downer all the time as we're working through this.
Yeah.
Just trying to bring a little bit of levity into it. And then also trying to just find connection points that people can connect with really simply and really easily. And, you know, definitely some movies that I felt like people have a general understanding, like everybody knows Star Wars, right?
Right.
Not all of them, I realize. I think I quote or talk about Miracle. That's a little bit more niche. I'm a hockey fan, so I had to get in there. But just trying to find some common points where we could connect this with people's everyday experiences and then help them take that and then connect it with the bigger truth in the text. As I've found just a great way to connect God's truth with people.
Yeah. And to be fair, you're not just quoting or throwing in references randomly. I was able to see the connections that you were making. So I want you to know it. I appreciate it.
At least it's just not like, I think Nick just wanted to talk about stuff.
Yeah, right. Yeah. just for fun. If you're going to write this, might as well throw it in there.
For the rigs, Nick. You don't have to talk about it.
Okay. It did add levity to the book. I'll give you that, because the entire topic, you know, it is heavy. It is heavy. And you actually talk about marriage. And to me, that part hit home. And I want to ask you, like, first off, what does it look like to thrive in our marriages? Because you did mention that in your book. I think people listening to this can benefit from that.
Yeah. So, I mean, to put it really simply, it's just you're thriving in your marriage when your marriage looks like Christ's relationship to the church. And so, you know, Peter has several verses where he talks about it. And so I definitely wanted to hit it. And I think, especially when you're going through something difficult, that's either going to be a moment that grows your marriage or is going to really hurt your marriage. And so, you know, when I was looking at the book, I was just amazed at how practical Peter was. And so I think, you know, especially as us husbands, thriving in our marriage just looks like I'm consistently, sacrificially laying myself down for my wife. And when we hear that, we tend to think in really big terms, like, I would die for her. But oftentimes we don't want to go do the dishes for her.
Right.
You know,
Right.
And so thriving in our marriage means I'm just constantly looking for ways where I can be like Jesus for her, where I can serve her, where I can lay myself down, lay down my own preferences, my own wants, my own desires for her good. We are told in the New Testament to wash our wives in the water of the word. I think that's Ephesians 6. So, you know, I think I mentioned in the book, the most important person that I have to disciple is my wife. And, you know, as an assistant pastor, associate pastor, I disciple a lot of people, but if I don't disciple my wife and my family, I'm missing it.
Right.
And so part of my job as a husband is to point her to Jesus. And that's obviously not preaching a sermon at her every day.
Right. Yeah.
She would get tired of that real quick.
Yeah.
You could probably preach some better ones than I could. But it is living like Jesus
it is pointing her to Jesus with the way I live, the way I sacrifice, and the way I love her. And, you know, we both wrote about on our blog about the recent miscarriage. And for me, that's been a good season to do that for her. Because there's a lot of things that she normally would do that she just can't right now. And so it's been a good season for me just to kind of to practice that a little bit and say, okay, Nick's got to diet, lay some things down right now. Nick's got to serve more than I normally would. I know I said I shouldn't preach a sermon at her. I kind of am right now, though. I read in a book a couple of years ago, Gary Thomas has a book called, I'm drawing a blank on the name of it. I can almost see it, A Lifelong Love. So I'm like looking myself at the book.
Yeah.
A Lifelong Love. And in it, he talks about just the way we as husbands are supposed to constantly be serving and laying down our lives for our wives. And even though I read that book several years ago, that still has stuck with me. And so that's part of the heartbeat behind thriving in our marriage, realizing my wife is God's daughter.
Yeah.
And as a dad of 2 daughters, I want my daughters to be taken care of. Imagine how much more God wants his daughter to be taken care of.
Absolutely.
That puts the
Absolutely. I want to talk a little bit more about your miscarriage, if that's okay.
Yeah.
And you mentioned your blog post. Your blog post was titled "Grace in Our Miscarriage." So miscarriage, I think, I don't know if it is at your church, but maybe at other churches, it might be considered a taboo topic where people don't really want to talk too much about it. It's sort of like maybe makes people uncomfortable, maybe rightfully so, right? But yeah, can you just explain to me maybe what that looked like for you guys, maybe how that felt, and maybe how you were able to encourage each other and really thrive together in grace?
So I talked a little bit about, just serving her through this season. You're right. It is. And I don't think I haven't felt from anybody in my church that it's taboo to talk about.
Sure.
It is a little bit, I've discovered, little Ann, go lay down. It is a little bit of an unspoken thing because it is really sensitive.
Yes.
It's a very, very sensitive topic. So a lot of people don't talk about it because it's sensitive. You are suffering, so it's hard. So people tend to not want to talk about that. There's a lot of really personal stuff that goes along with it. And so I think that's often why it doesn't get talked about. So part of our goal with the blog post was to talk about it a little bit and to talk about how we were experiencing God's grace through it. And it's amazing how God's grace has really allowed us to not just to get through it, but to just really have an eternal mindset that our baby's now with Jesus.
Yes.
And he's in the presence of Jesus. And, we're going to be in the presence of Jesus for all of eternity. This life's just a little blip on the radar. And it's just really helped us frame that. I'm sorry, my dog keeps trying to jump up.
It's okay.
Little Ann.
It's okay.
Well, okay. I'm sorry, this is so unprofessional.
No, it's good. It's good.
It's real life right now.
Yeah.
So that was she's about to, you see, here she is.
Yeah, just bring her in the camera. It's okay.
we all know you're here. Yeah.
Hi.
So that was really our heartbeat behind the post, was just to say, hey, look, you can experience hope. You can experience God's grace as you're walking through very, very difficult circumstances that a lot of people are uncomfortable talking about, and understandably so.
Yeah.
But there's grace in that, and there's hope in that. And one of my favorite verses has been, the affliction that we endure now is momentary compared to the eternal weight of glory.
Right.
And our baby's experiencing that eternal weight of glory right now. And
it's amazing.
We're not there yet, obviously, but in the meantime, we have that hope. We have that to look forward. And we have the promises of Scripture that help us to thrive now while we wait for that.
Yeah.
So we wanted to write that together. And it's, you know, from the amount of people that have read it, it's definitely, I felt like, resonated with some folks, and hopefully been a help and an encouragement to them.
Yeah, definitely. And when I read those words that you guys were hopeful that your child is in heaven with Jesus, with God, that just brought so much joy to my heart, man. And so just thank you for putting that out there.
Praise
And
Lord.
I know that you guys didn't have to share all of those things. You didn't have to put that into words. And so I'm thankful that you did that. I was blessed by it. So, and I'm sure other people were too.
I appreciate it.
Yeah. Your book, you self-published this book.
Yeah.
And to me, that sounds like a super hard thing to do.
Really not.
Can you just tell me a little bit about your process? Maybe,
Yeah.
You don't have to go into the details, but
Right.
What did that look like for you?
So there is a self-publishing book that we use to print all of our discipleship material for our church. So I was already really familiar with the process. And so really it was just a matter of loading a PDF and a cover to a website. The company that we use does a great job of just getting it all taken care of for you. I just found out the other day, like, I'm on Barnes & Noble now. So that was really
nice. Congrats,
they're
man.
working on getting me on Amazon. They said there's been a lot of issues with Amazon this year. So they're like working on getting you there.
I bet, yeah.
So, but it was actually surprisingly a really painless process. Yeah, they did a great job coming up with it. After I got it all done, I'm like, I should probably have a website. I have no way to tell people this here. You know, stuff like, you know, putting yourself out there and blogs and selling books. Like, I don't know anything about any of it.
We're just trying this out, man. It's just trial and error.
Like, I'm throwing the ball and seeing what sticks.
Yep. Same.
But, you know, so self-publishing was really easy. Part of why I went that route is because I wanted to get it out there, but I'm like, nobody's going to publish me. Nobody knows who I am. You know, so it was a little bit of a starting point, just to get out there, because I do kind of want to learn the process of publishing a book and getting it out there. So that was kind of why I went that route. And yeah, I'm just learning as I go.
Well, I think it's great that you're able to do this. It's something I hope to do in the future, and so thank you for paving the way. I don't know what it's going to look like, but now I know that you did it, and so it's something to look forward to, I guess.
Yeah.
You chose this photo.
Yep.
You're a photographer. This is your photo, right?
That's
this is
very
your
generous
photo on the
of you
front.
to say.
You're a great photographer. This is Yosemite. You love taking pictures of Yosemite. So I'm assuming this is your picture. Obviously you graded out for the cover.
Right.
But
yeah, I did.
The pictures on your Instagram are super vibrant and colorful.
Yeah.
What made you choose this photo out of all of them? I'm assuming you chose the gray because of the whole theme of thriving in exile. Is that
I'm not a designer, man. There was no thought process. Words will show up easier if I make the cover gray.
Okay. Nice.
That picture, though, there is a little bit of a story behind that picture. It's an angle of El Capitan in Yosemite that I had been looking for about a year.
Okay.
And when I found the angle, I was so excited to get a picture of it. It's one of my favorite pictures of El Capitan. I wrote a post a while ago how the timelessness of like places like Yosemite really helped me to persevere through difficulties. And that picture, that angle of El Capitan, I don't know quite how to put it into words. It's like so consistent. It's just always been there.
Yeah.
No matter what's going on in the world. It's so, I mean, it's called El Capitan. It's the, you know, like when I think of thriving, I think of El Capitan just enduring through all of everything that this world has gone through.
Yeah.
And so that was kind of why I chose that picture for the cover of the book.
Yeah.
But again,
it's great. Let me just pull this back so everybody can see it. Yeah, it's iconic. And whenever I think of El Capitan, I think of you. And so you're doing your branding right. Whatever you're doing you're doing it right.
Well, that's something that's sticking to the wall. That's great.
Yeah. Here we are. You published this in 2020. We're in 2021 right now.
Right.
How do you see your book helping people specifically in this year?
Yeah. So I think a lot of the stuff that we went through in 2020 isn't going to necessarily just instantly go away in 2021. I think some of the problems and some of what we went through was so big, like we don't know how long we're going to experience the ramifications of that.
Right.
And so hopefully the truths of Thriving in Exile and of the book of First Peter will just continue to help people and resonate with people and help them know how to navigate these difficulties and these uncertainties. Dog, little hand, go lay down. So hopefully those truths will help navigate. And I think too, as truths that we hold dear as Christians become maybe more and more offensive or less and less quote unquote mainstream.
Right.
Less and less commonly accepted. As believers, we're gonna have to know, okay, how do we thrive in this type of an environment? How do we thrive in an environment that isn't as friendly to Christianity as it once was? And when you look at the historical context of First Peter, which I talk about a little bit in the book,
right,
they were thriving in a culture and in a period of history that was very unfriendly towards Christianity. And if they could thrive then, we can thrive now.
Yes.
And that's the message that I hope that continues to resonate with people, that no, we can be okay no matter what suffering or what persecution or what difficulty we face. We can be okay and we can thrive. We don't just bunker down till the end. We can advance the kingdom of God and the mission of God regardless of the situation and circumstances we find ourselves in.
Man, that's such a great message. And honestly, I think it's one that's going to need repeating throughout this year.
Yeah.
And I appreciate all the content that you put out on the internet. You're on Instagram, obviously. Why don't you tell us about your newsletter and any other places that we can follow you on your work?
Yeah. So, I mean, if you're watching this on Instagram, that's the easiest way. Also on Facebook, if you do facebook.com/thrivinginexile. I'm trying to figure out Facebook. That's one I don't feel like I figured out yet.
It is a mystery. I agree with you.
But I do, like you mentioned, the newsletter. So every week on Tuesday, I send out some updates to my blog. And I send out my new posts first via that newsletter, which if you want to sign up for that, you can just go to nickminerva.com. And everybody that signs up gets chapter 1 of the book for free. So that is available if you want it. If somebody would like to get that, that would be a blessing. But that goes out every week on Tuesday. That's the quickest way to get new content would be through that.
Awesome.
On Facebook and Instagram and everywhere else too.
So good. I want to talk about something that you actually wrote in today's newsletter that I saw. You wrote that your favorite verse is Revelation 2:10, and it says, "Be faithful unto death, and I will give you the crown of life." Can you just elaborate on this for us? And maybe this would be a great way for us to close our time together.
Absolutely. So that verse has really been, I don't know if you could call it a life verse, but I feel like it's been a theme that I've really wanted my life to be marked by. In Bible college, you have all these big dreams about these big grand things that you want to do for God. And I think some of it came from a right heart. Some of it might have come from a little bit of ego.
Sure.
But the older I've gotten, the more I'm just like, I don't really care about that. I just care about being faithful. I just want to live my life well. And so many people not ending their life well. So many, pastors and Christian leaders that we look up to,
right?
They aren't faithful. And so for me, what that verse does is it just gives me this reminder of what's really important. Just being faithful over the course of your life. And then like the promise is, you'll get the crown of life. So just that eternal mindset that being faithful now does have eternal ramifications and eternal rewards. And more than I want success or big glamour, I just want my life to be marked by faithfulness in the course of my life. And so that's kind of been just that verse that I keep coming back to pretty regularly, just faithful unto death. Even those 3 words, faithful unto death, faithful unto death.
Yeah.
that eternal mindset that enables that faithfulness.
I I honestly don't know anybody else who has a favorite verse or a life verse or whatever you want to call it from the book of Revelation. And so this is definitely going to stick
Awesome.
with me. And yeah, I'm going to reference it from now on because I think it's great. And Pastor Nick, thanks so much for joining me. Actually, before we end,
Yeah.
let's give your church a shout out here. I want to know a little bit more about your church because I keep tabs on your church. You guys do a lot of worship stuff, and I think that's great. I'm a music leader at my church, and yeah, you guys do these production videos where I saw when you guys were like in a field, and you brought like all the gear out. Can we just give your church a shout out? Tell me about you guys.
So it's Fresno Church. You can find us on Instagram at, I think it's Fresno_Church.
Right. Yeah.
I'll be honest with you. I have nothing to do with the music, man. So I'm the associate pastor. My main two responsibilities are small groups and discipleship. But Hunter, you can follow him at Hero Hunter. He oversees all of our worship, and he just does such a good job at leading our church in a spirit of worship. And not just like him and his team performing, but really leading us as a church in worship.
Right.
We have a guy on staff, Alan Taylor. He just does an incredible job at the video work. And so with Hunter doing the music and Alan doing the video, they're really able to pull off some amazing videos. If you go follow our church on, you can follow us on Instagram or Facebook, but I think most of our videos are up on YouTube. So if you search for YouTube, I'm pretty sure they're all up there. They just do a really spectacular job at getting those done. Those kind of were a result of COVID too, because we were kind of like, especially early on, we were like, how do we worship?
Right.
Like we're all in our homes. You know, we figured out we can do preaching over Zoom, preaching over the internet, but how do we do corporate worship? How do we worship together? And so we tried a few different things and they just didn't work. We were like, well, let's try maybe producing these music videos. And then, because our online services are all through Zoom. I think we talked about this last time we chatted.
Yeah.
And so we'll do those music videos through Zoom. And we've also been able to get them out on social media just to be a blessing to people and an encouragement to people in this really difficult year. You know, they've really, really resonated and helped a lot of people. So
yeah,
it's really been a blessing and an encouragement. And yeah, they do a fantastic job with those. I mean, they get, I know a lot of other churches have used their videos. People tell me about them all the time, and I'm like, yeah, they're great. I have nothing to do with those.
You're sitting there thinking, well, did you listen to my sermon after the video? Like,
No, it's all good. My wife's a piano player, so you'll see her in the video. She's great.
Yes, I've seen her. Yeah. It's awesome, and I am one of the people that have been blessed by it. You know, I think
awesome. It's great.
It's something different when, I mean, we all know the famous songwriters and musicians that you know are well known, but there's something different when you're on YouTube or you're sitting there on Instagram and you see your own leaders, your own friends, your fellow brothers and sisters that you break bread with together, that maybe you're in the same small group together. It's a different feel, and I've just been blessed by just seeing your church and how you guys aren't afraid to put yourself out there and go for it. So yeah, thanks so much for letting me know about your church and for having your church even serve me, even though I don't attend it.
Able to serve you in that way.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And Pastor Nick, thank you for your work as well. For your book, of course. And I have actually listened to some of your sermons. You send them to me, and sometimes you'll put them in your newsletter. Just thank you so much for being faithful to God's word and to your calling, and just with sharing bits of your life here online, so I can just kind of see what it's like to live the Christian life in all its different shapes and forms, and all the way up in Fresno, what it looks like too.
Thanks for saying that, man. Thanks for your friendship. It's been really fun getting to know you and following you, I think, from day one. But it's been a lot of fun. Thanks for putting up with my dog too.
I love it.
Sleeping. She's been sleeping all. soon as I get on here, she's like, "Oh, I'm gonna get in your face."
I love it. I love it. And yeah, thank you for your friendship too. We're gonna do this again. This is absolutely not the last time. Whether it's about your next book or about your next sermon or about your next newsletter, we're gonna do this again.
I really do appreciate it, man. It's a blessing, and it's been a lot of fun to watch you take off and how you're doing. It's able to interview. It's been really cool to watch.
It's so much fun, and thanks for your encouragement and for following along. Thank you. I'll see you online. I'll see you online. Bye, Pastor Nick. I'll talk to you later.
Bye.
Bye.